Talk Show.
Recorded live.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you may be across the nation or around the world. Once again, you're listening to the VMware Communities Roundtable Podcast. This is podcast number 649. My name is Eric Nilsson, and with me today I have my favorite co-host, Corey Romero. Today's Wednesday, June 21st, 2023. Corey Romero, how you doing today?
Doing well, Eric. Doing great. Yeah, Utah weather's been nice. Been a little warm, and it's been raining, I think, almost every evening for the past 2 to 3 weeks.
Nice. Well, that's good to get some more water. I know you guys are short on water up there, so they got good to get that 30-foot snowpack, then plus some water on top of that. That'll be fantastic for Lake Mead and a couple of the other ones, for the Colorado River. So we're happy about that.
Yeah, well, it's been great. Having broken sprinkler lines throughout the whole entire yard for everything froze. To, a lot of water bringing in, feeding my lawn and trees.
Yeah, there you go. On the show today, we're going to be talking to Manuel Billmaier, senior consultant for Computer Center. He's going to be talking about Homelab version 2.5. He's got an article out on his blog, which I think is www.mb-labs.de. He's out of Germany. But before we get to Manuel, Corey, let's chat about what's going on in the world here. I know that we've got Explore coming up, and there's a lot of stuff happening with the Explorer. We got the party all booked up and locked down, ready to go at the Pinball Museum. We got the Code Theater, and we got the Code Labs queued up, ready to go in what they're calling the Hub, which is going to be a good area. So we've got most of all that funded. So and schedule builders out, so you can go look for code sessions. You can go look for VMTN sessions, see the community sessions. That's exciting. What else we got going on?
I've got a couple things in news. I mean, speaking of Explorer, we'll just go with that one. I'm holding a VMware community panel with 4 VMware community leaders. The topic is Level Up Your Career Through Community Participation. The session number is VIB2959LV. That's Victor India Bravo 2959 Lima Victor. So you can go find myself, Frankie, and Brian from the communities team. From blog program perspective, a vExpert perspective, and Vanguard. And then we've got one other person that's going to be coming on shortly, which we'll add to that agenda. That's going to be exciting. It's my first session outside of the VMware the VMware community booth area. So looking forward to that.
Nice. That's exciting. And I guess we should mention that Brian Gaff is going to come on the communities team. So get another great addition. And we will have him start, I think, in another week. He's going to be here and running the code program. So we're excited about that.
That'll be nice.
Nice. And why did they let you have a session again? I'm confused. Did they just not know you were going to be on it? It's like
as soon as they saw my name, they're like, "Oh, great! Oh, we accepted that guy."
Yeah, I think that was probably a mistake. They don't do that. Well, the weather here in California has been beautiful. It's been a little bit cooler, in the 60s. So we haven't seen that super hot weather yet. My cornfield is barely growing. Like stuff is just inching along. So I don't know if I'm going to get corn for 4th of July or not. But it's been pretty. All right. With that, that's enough of the chit chat. Everybody go register for VMware Explorer. I heard the numbers looking strong as we come into the summertime. So I think we're going to exceed it. I think their target is 10,000. And I think they're going to exceed that. I think it's going to be a good year this year, just because I've seen the numbers and they're cruising along. So I think they're actually should be a lot of fun, excitement, some good announcements. I've seen some of the announcements that I can't talk about, but I would say that they're going to be cool. They're going to be different. There's going to be some cool tech that will be announced that, makes sense when we announce it. And it's one of these things that's kind of almost a new market for VMware, right? Like, so even though it's not new, it's a major new piece that we haven't seen before. So if you're considering coming to explore, I think that there will be some fun things to learn about, see about, and then we are doing some cool things in the community booth and the code booth to support some of that new announcement. And if I say this all at the same time, I'll be giving it away, so I won't say it, but maybe come back next week and I'll talk about what the VMware code booth is doing and the code session. So Yeah, it might give you some idea what we're going to be talking about. With that, let's get to our main guest today, which is talking about home labs. Manuel, welcome to the show. Always great to have community members here. We always start with, why don't you tell us a little about yourself? What's your career look like? You know, what does your career arc look like? Where else have you worked? How did you get where you are? And I think now you're running your own company doing consulting. So just take 5 minutes and let's talk about who you are.
Yeah, guys, thanks a lot for having me. So my backstory is I'm 40 years old now. I started with my professional IT career in 2007. So I'm for 16 years now in the IT business. And I started as an IT specialist, touching all that hardware and software stuff. And over the years, I developed to a consultant, and for now, I'm a senior consultant within Computer Center. So, and with the VMware stuff, I started around 2010. I'm in my 13th year with the VMware stuff. Back in the past, I did for sure a lot of that vSphere stuff and vSphere cluster installation. And in the last years, and when also my Homelab evolved, I'm more focused on the software side as we realize automation, or how it is nowadays it's called area automation, and with the cloud foundation stuff, and that's my main topics. I'm consulting my customers here in Germany right at the moment.
So if you started in 2010, I can start naming things that you didn't work on, right? Like SCO Unix, GSX from VMware, and some things.
My history is really based on Windows. Yeah, so I started as a kid with Windows 95. Yeah, and then I grown through the different versions of Windows. And when you come from the Windows side, I also in the enterprise environments, I nearly used Windows all the time. First time I've really touched a Linux system or a Unix system was really with the ESXi. Yeah, and then I have a look through the Xen server world from Citrix, and that was the first time I came in touch around 2010 with Linux or Unix systems. Yeah. But my real background is, to be honest, Windows.
All right. Well, that makes sense. And, a lot of people do that. So, okay. So then you have your, I guess it's a blog, which I want to say is www.mb-labs.de. Is that the right URL, or is there a different URL I should be looking at?
It's mb-labs.de. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. All right. So that's where you push articles, and I think that you've got a Homelab article that's been happening. I can't get to it's MB. That's why I was going to MP.
Yeah, it's like my name. Yeah, of course, for sure.
There you go.
And that's because of the Homelab stuff.
Got it.
It's about different topics. Yeah.
Yeah.
On the one hand, of course, Homelab stuff, and on the other side, I'm blogging about VMware products in common. When I did an implementation, for example, of certificates in my NSXT world, because that was a little bit strange to implement it. I didn't like an manual how you do it in a productive environment. Yeah, so that's the second part. And the third part of my blog is, for sure, I'm reposting articles from others over the VMware advocacy program, which in my opinion makes sense to be shared one more time with the whole VMware community.
Right.
So because I'm also an VMware vExpert, so I'm able to access the VMware advocacy social media program, and I'm able to repost blog posts from other community guys. So that are the three things you can find within my blog or with my website. Yeah.
Right. So you had on the blog, which I'm looking at. You can go to mb-labs.de, and then Homelab is the /Homelab is the URL, but you got a button there that just says Homelab, so it's easy to find. And then you have a part 1, or I guess we call it version 1 versus version 2. So I'm looking at the version 1 lab.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like what I ran in my racks in the early days, where you go get a couple NUCs and you boot them up, you put vSphere on them, and then you just have a standard network switch, TP-Link SG3216, and that's pretty much it, right? Like a 1 gigabit modem up to the internet, and
it was not 1 gigabit to the internet, because we in Germany have very weak internet connections these days. Yeah, it was maybe 100 Mbit for internet uplink. So nothing to tell about it. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you have a Synology NAS, right, to put the VMs on them. I'm sure, which you always need a NAS connected to 1 gigabit right to your switch. So straightforward. Doesn't look like there's any NSX there, right? Looks like that's just basic.
Yes, as you are looking to version 1.0, that was back in 2017 when I started with that. Yeah, and for sure that Homelab evolved over the years, and back in 2020 things got really serious. Yeah, so when you scroll down, you will see version 2.0, and in 2020 I was attempting VMware training from my colleague and mentor Mark Hubbard. Yeah, it's VCDX 181, as you may know. Yeah, so he really influenced me that I must really upgrade my lab, and so I did. Yeah, and in 2020 I got 24
So before you give away everything in version 2, right, or version whatever we call version 2, I'm going to ask you, what was some of your primary goals when you considered? Because I think your version 1 is interesting, because if you look at a lot of the people that I talk with, like that aren't serious home labbers, they start like me, right? You got 1 or 2 machines that are running VMs. You got some storage so that you can keep your VMs on a network storage unit, and then you have a connection to the internet, right? And that was pretty much what your version 1 looked like, which is very typical. Especially if you're just a compute guy, right? You're not doing a lot of automation. You're just running ESX, right? Then you started talking to Mark, obviously, or however you got turned on to the next version. But when you were talking about doing that at next version, what were you thinking about accomplishing, right, when you went to that version 2?
Yeah, because I wanted to implement more VMware products in my personal environment. So with version 1, I was able to run vSphere, was able to run vSAN, and that's it, yeah, because the resources were limited. And starting in 2020, I would like to implement even more VMware solutions in my environment, that I could have my fingers on it and gain hands-on experience. So I decided to go all in, and then my vision was to implement vSphere, vSAN, NSXT, and these days or nowadays called the Realize Suite, as it is now rebranded to Area. And I wanted to implement all these products within my environment and have my fingers on it, that I'm really deep digging and able to consult my customers. That was my vision for version 2.0.
Okay. So a couple things that stand out when I'm looking at the diagram on your blog article, right? For version 2, the storage, yeah, you added some more, another storage unit, true NAS. That's not surprising, right? There's the things that I see that are interesting is you went to bigger compute nodes, which look like they have slots to have NVIDIA cards, right? Graphics cards, vGPUs or GPUs in it.
Yeah,
Is there a reason to go to that gear to get the GPUs in your home lab?
Yes, it all started, of course, with the bigger compute nodes. So as I was going full enterprise, I had purchased 3 HP DL 380 servers, Gen 9. So I was able to do all that fancy stuff. And as I mentioned before, my vision was to implement more VMware products within my lab. And one of these products was also VMware Horizon. And when you are playing around with VMware Horizon desktops, there's a short way that you may experience that it would be nice that there is an GPU within your VDI desktops. Yeah, so also there I was very influenced by my colleague Mark Huppert. Yeah, so and he also offered me the chance to have 2 of these NVIDIA P4 graphic cards. He was giving me them out of his home lab. Yeah, so really thanks to Mark. And then I had the chance to got these 2 babies within my home lab. And It was a really, really good experience for me, because then after 2020, we all know there was a pandemic rolling in, and we got a lot of consulting stuff with VDI. So it was a real good experience for me to do that within my lab, and then I was able to consult my customers in a very, very good way.
Yeah, that was perfect timing, right? And I think that's one of the things that, people don't really think about when you're going the next step for your home lab is, getting something that could put GPUs in them, right? GPU cards, and then be able to do that, right? Which is perfect timing for you. Other thing that I'm looking at, and you have different versions of stage 2. So I'm still on the version 2, which I love the way you did your blog, because you can kind of consume it and see what you did first in version 2, then what you did second in version 2, what you did third in version 2. So it's a beautiful blog at being able to get that, which is why this blog trended to some degree as well, right? Which is why we picked you up, because we were watching things that are always trending. So let's talk about the switch editions, because I'm looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe in a better modem. So maybe 4 switches with better modems. What do you got at network wise? Why don't you take us through that?
Yes, when I switched from version 1 to 2 within my home lab, I also upgraded my network infrastructure to 10 gigabit. And then things got crazy a little bit. As you can see, I have 2 10 gig core switches like that. Yeah. So I thought, as I'm running vSAN, I'm having the chance to update the switches with no interruption for my vSAN backend network. So there are 2 US16XG switches within that picture. And for sure, I used an unified aggregation switch, also 10 gigabit as may call it core switch, and the other 2 ones top of rack switches. So I also would like to rebuild an enterprise environment also in my network, that I could really do things like that you do it in a real enterprise world.
Makes sense. And when you were looking at NSXT, did that drive some of your decisions on which switches to buy and how to lay that out?
Not really. The decision was which 10 gigabit hardware was affordable for me, because it was pricing, and Ubiquiti stuff is really handy. Then you can have a GUI and a software defined approach. Yeah, so it's really easy to configure when you are not so deep within the network stuff, like the Cisco CLI. Yeah. To compare. So that was the main reason why I decided to go with Ubiquiti stuff. And of course, my colleague influenced me also here, and he told me that this Ubiquiti stuff is really reliable, and you can use it within your home lab.
Now did Mark sell you the switches too from leftover from his lab?
Sadly not. Yes, I had to buy them from Ubiquiti Direct. Yeah, so that was a big invest to change the whole network infrastructure to 10 gigabit. Yeah,
Right, makes sense. What's the small hub doing, dropping off one of the switches? I'm looking to see.
To give you a short hint, Eric, you can click on that picture, then it will go bigger. And I think you are meaning the little USW Flex, which is in my living room. Yeah, it's so-called
local home network. Got it.
Yeah.
You're brave. You're connecting everything together.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, when you scroll down to version 2.5, there I arranged it in a little different way, that it's more clear where the hardware is located within my house.
Now I have to figure out how to get out of full screen mode on this image, right? Like
you must use the back
arrow on the browser.
It's the only way.
Nice. Okay, so you upgrade your switches, you upgrade the gear, you now have vSAN, you now have the vGPUs or GPUs, right, which you can do for virtual desktops, and now you got network, you got NSX that you can implement, and that looks like your first version of your home lab. I see Velo Cloud VMware. Tell me a little bit about what's going on there.
Yeah, of course. Within my company, also Mark offered me the chance to test these VMware Velo Cloud stuff, because I also have 2 internet connections around, and Velo Cloud was the first approach to load balance my internet connections. Yeah. So
this sounds a lot like Mark. This sounds exactly like Mark. Mark's like, yeah, I've got multiple lines in, and then he's load balancing his line traffic on two different internet connections. I remember that. Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, that was the main reason why I was using VMware Velo Cloud, or how it is nowadays called, NSX SDW.
What does SDW stand for? SD-WAN. Does it get firewall in there, and it does load balancing and firewall? Is that what it's doing?
Yes, that's absolutely
right. Okay. Nice. All right. So that's version 1.
Yeah.
Cool. Or I don't know what version. Now, let me see what it says. Oh, that's version 2.3. I've already passed in version 2.3. I don't know if there's a difference between version 2.0 versus 2.3.
A little bit. There was some minor changes. I added some vSAN capacity. I added even more NVIDIA graphic cards, because I was able to source some of them on eBay. So I got 4. And then first time I was really able to move, also like in an enterprise environment, my vGPU enabled VMs from one host to another. So it was really like an enterprise production environment. I was very proud of when I could that first time.
This is suspiciously looking like Bitcoin mining rack stuff here. If I start looking at the number of GPUs you've got showing up, these machines that are the HP machines, how many interfaces do they have to put the graphics card in?
They are able. I was putting a second riser card in the servers, and so I have, I think, 4 or 5 PCI slots and 2 X16 capable of having a graphics card.
All right, so you put a riser
enough
card
space within that enterprise machines to put graphic cards on or other I/O cards. Yeah.
Did you have to deal with some power supply upgrades when you started doing that?
Luckily, I bought them with big power supplies. Yeah. So when I got them, they have 800 watts power supplies twice. Yeah. So 1,600 watts.
Watts. That'll run a couple of them, right? You'll run out. I think each one of those boards probably runs what 300-400 watts, something like that.
Not really. The NVIDIA P4 only have a maximum power consumption of 70 watts.
Really?
Because it's a passive cooled one. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess.
And have no additional power supply. So all power they get are running through the PCI bus, and so they are only consuming 70 watts. That was also very, very good. As you can see, I've also have a Tesla M10 card within. Yeah. So and the Tesla M10 card was way more complex to implement because of the external power cord you need. And it got me 3 different orders of power cables till this card was up and running within the server.
Interesting.
Yeah. So my advice is when you are going with Tesla or NVIDIA cards, use that one without external power supply. Then you have not to worry about the power cable.
I got them all over the place, right?
Okay, got it.
300 watts, and you need them. And I got a 3090 that takes like 400 watts, and so 70 watts is actually great, right? To get a graphics card there. And you're not doing high end gaming on these guys.
No, not really. Only for the Windows 10 and Windows 11 desktops. I'm hosting in my Horizon environment. I'm using that.
That answers my question. You really weren't doing Bitcoin mining because those aren't probably.
I tried, but as you know, there's also a heat topic, and also electricity in Germany is very, very expensive.
Yeah.
So I was spending around 7,000 kilowatt hours last year without mining. So when I will do full throttle on these Tesla P4 cards, the power consumptions will even get higher, and the rewards of mining are not worth it because the power is so expensive in Germany.
Yeah. So in the wintertime, next to your thermostat, on the wall to control your heat, did you have like a little button that would increase the workload on your servers, and then you just generate more heat in your house without?
Yeah, it would be nice, but it's not that easy. Yeah, I tried in a little way. I did a little venting system in the room where my servers are located, but it not really worked as good as I was expecting.
I did the same thing. I built a Homelab environment in my house, and then I put a venting system in with a thermostat on it, and then I set the degrees to like 87 degrees. And if it reached over 87 in the room, it would turn on the vent and blow the heat down into another space. It never really worked right. I never really didn't have enough airflow cooling wise to pump the heat from the top of the room and move it somewhere else. It never worked, but it's conceptually interesting. For sure.
Yeah, that also challenges when you're running a Homelab, the power consumption of the Homelab and the whole heat and venting stuff. Because I have a little cellar room where my hardware is located. And today it was a very hot day. I was forced to put an additional fan in that room that the air will move a little bit. And Yeah, and of course the power got very, very expensive beginning of last year.
Yeah, there is we don't talk about this as much when we're doing home lab discussion because we just don't, right? But even in the US and California now, power's getting expensive, right? We're also going all green in California, so they raised the rates because it's all bought green. And so one of the things that I've been looking at is just solar panels connected to lithium batteries. You can get nice rack mounted lithium battery packs now that will, and then the solar panels are like 300-400 watts per panel now. They're every year they get a little bit better. And so you can do the math and go, okay, if you want to invest, and then the battery packs have gotten really cheap, right? Like, $1,000 or something. And they come in rack mounted, packs. So they just fit right in your rack. And then you can start playing that game, right? Of solar collection and then run your
to be honest, my family invested in a solar panel stuff on our roof. Yeah, we also have solar power since last year, but the investment was very big, so not a real advantage for my home lab right now.
Yeah. The thing I would say is if you DIY it, if you go look on eBay and look for panels and buy your own panels and then buy your own, battery pack servers, you can, if you do it from a vendor who's going to be licensed to put it up on your roof and connect it to the grid and everything like that, it's going to be 3 or 4x. But if you actually just do a DIY off-grid system for your labs, it's probably 1/3 the cost. But anyway, so I digress. Let's get back to your lab here, version 2.3. Now you I think you added, what did I see? Version 3. Maybe I was already on version 3. Yeah.
We also talked about version 2.3. Maybe we should go on with version 2.4.
Yeah. Now you got Veeam Windows Server. I don't know what that is.
So that was the point when I implemented a lot of solutions within my lab. There was one topic left. It was backup. Yeah. So as I spent so many effort in configuring everything, I would like to have an enterprise-grade backup in place within my environment. Yeah. So first, I started with Veeam as a virtual machine. Yeah. So, but then I have some recent issues, to be honest. Yeah. It was caused by faulty firmware of Ubiquiti switch. Yeah. So, and then, as always, I was not able to restore backup without my virtual machine, which was placed luckily on my NFS storage and not the recent storage. So things went luckily good for me, and then I was able to recover my vCenter and stuff like that, blah blah blah. Yeah, and then I thought I would like to have a real physical backup server. So and then I was able to got this ProLiant ML310 server from another colleague of mine. And then I used that as a real hardware Windows server with Veeam on it to have my backup
on-prem
backup, my virtual environment. And that was also the reason why I started my second data center. Yeah.
Because you were talking to Mark, I'm sure, and Mark's like, one day, second breakfast, Pip. Second. Sorry, that's a Lord of the Rings reference. Question on your Veeam server: did you get? Did Veeam give you the software for free as a vExpert or as somebody that's doing home lab, or did you have to buy a license?
I'm not quite sure. I think I was able to get the NFR license via our partner program from our company.
Okay.
And it was not depending on my
so you bought a Windows server, you put a bunch of storage in it, right? SSDs or whatever you got running in there, right?
No, there are spinning disks within it. As you can see, there are 4 terabyte spinning disks. Yeah?
Okay. Yeah, that's not, sorry.
Size disks. Yeah,
sorry.
nothing really special, as it is.
I should have said SATA attached or some other attached storage, spinning disks in there in the Windows Server that you're then just doing direct backups right on those spinning disks. With Veeam as the software that's pulling the VMs and doing the backups. Does it actually back up the ESX servers as well so that everything's backed up?
No, the ESXi servers are not backed up, only the VMs, because the installation of ESXi is really straightforward. Yeah. So
yeah. All right. Yep. Not a lot of cushion. All right. So that's version 2.4. And I know we're going to run out of time. I'm going to scroll down and say, oh, this is the last one. Good. Because we're going to be, we got 10 more minutes to get to the top of the hour, and we got a late start. So maybe we'll run a little over, but, so now we're finally at current day 2.5. What's new?
Yeah. So I changed the network infrastructure a little bit. I retired the 2 US 16XG switches, and I bought a new 25 gigabit and 10 gigabit switch from Ubiquiti. As you can see, the USW switch aggregation Pro. And on the other side, I implemented my second data center. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So before we get to your second data center, let's stop and I'll ask a couple questions on the switches. Why did you upgrade your switches? 10 gigabit wasn't enough. You wanted to go to 25, or was there features in the you needed?
No. So the aggregation Pro switch is also a 10 gigabit switch, and all my VMware hosts are still attached with 10 gigabits. It was only to do the life cycle of the Ubiquiti stuff to get the new generation of Ubiquiti switches, and also the aggregation Pro switch is a layer 3 switch, which is able to route between VLANs, and that was a little bottleneck before, as you could thought I have a lot of VLANs implemented in my environment, and the UDM Pro, which is, in my opinion, more a prosumer device, was on its limits when there was a lot of routing traffic between the VLANs. So I decided to go with the aggregation Pro switch, that switch will have for now the job to route the traffic between the VLANs. That was the main reason why I changed the switch there.
How many VLANs? Tony Foster asks.
It's around 20, I guess. It's not so much as you expect in a real enterprise environment, but this UDM Pro switch you see on top was nearly overloaded with that. Yeah, sadly.
Right. Makes sense. All right, let's talk about your second data center, because I think that Mark told us back in the day when he was going through his. There's just the ability to have multiple data centers are some things that you can learn when you're networking between them. What's the rationale between doing a second one?
Yeah, first I would have my backup data in a different area of my house, or call it geolocation. Yeah. Right. And so I decided to expand my data center to a second location in my house, which is my office, to be honest. Yeah. To have also in my office a 10 gigabit connection. And first things first, I started with my backup server with my backup target, to be honest. The backup server is still in data center A, and my backup target, which is the TrueNAS, is located in that second data center. And in the future, maybe I will run some more hosts in my second data center to do all that replication stuff VMware is offering, to simulate different geolocations, to also have hands-on that stuff, as many of our customers are doing that stuff also in their environments.
Now, Mark would bring in customers and do demos of his lab environment because it is basically a prototype for the way you'd want to build out your enterprise. Do you get into that space where you're actually showcasing your lab when you're talking to customers?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I used my environment also for customer demos, especially within that area automation stuff.
Nice. If you were to guesstimate, how much dollars have you spent putting in gear for your home lab? What price would you have to tell your significant other? Or I don't know.
So it's not easy to answer that question because it evolved over the years. But a big invest was in 2020 when I started the version 2.0 of the lab. I bought the 3 new hosts. I have the whole network replacement with the Ubiquiti stuff. And I guess it was around 10,000 euros within 2020. And over the past 3 years, I guess it was 2,500 to nearly 4,000 euros, I guess, But not to forget, also the power.
I was going to say,
was 2,500 euros within the last year. That was, you must addition that to that cost I mentioned before. I forgot that also. So over the last 2 years, I got around 5,000 euros of power consumption bill.
And my home lab actually now I moved down. I used to have it in my little data center that I built a little room that had the heat exchange and so forth. But eventually I moved it. A buddy of mine had a rack in San Jose that, that he was using, but he had some extra space in the bottom of it. And the reason it's a pain because you have to drive down there anytime you want to change the configuration, reboot, anything like that. But, the power bill is such that, I just piggyback on top of his space and I don't have to pay power. So it's like, there is certainly that. I am considering the solar panels because I just hate driving someplace. I like to be able to go tinker around my stuff without having to go somewhere else and drive down to a lab and sit and listen to the rack next to my data center rack. The alarms are going off in this rack. Like somebody's got alarms and it's just beep, 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 the whole time you're working. So it is really nice to have at home because it's not such a pain to go do more configuration, upgrade things because it's in your house, right? It's available.
Absolutely. Before I started version 2.0, I was thinking about, we are in the cloud age now, Why should I have my own hardware within my house, as we are in the cloud age, So I thought about to have some hosts within some hyperscaler, but then you could gain so much experience when you have hands-on hardware, For example, network cabling, vSAN, VLANs, and the whole network configuration. You could gain so much experience on that low-level stuff also, which helped me a lot in my consulting work. So I was looking to the past. I'm really happy that my decision was to invest in my own hardware because there are so many low-level things you should know and learn that you are able to consult the higher software stuff. Or software-defined stuff.
Right. Absolutely. great implementation, and I feel like this is a nice implementation that most of us could do. I feel like Mark's is so over the top that it's like it's beyond what I'm willing to spend money on and afford. But I feel yours is like somewhere in the middle of that, right? You have a second space data center. It's basically another server on a network. Yeah, you had to buy the enough network gear and a couple servers, and you had to have the NVIDIA cards to try to collect. But I feel like this is doable for anybody, that's out there. And I will throw in the if you need to get licenses and you don't work for a consulting agency, you can get you can go get VMUG Advantage and get all the licenses for like $200.
Absolutely, or the we expert program, which is really helpful for me for getting all these NFR licensing stuff.
Yep. So that's what I would say. I know we're going to run at the top of the hour, and we want to do we live stream all of this. If you want to look at what Manuel looks like, you can go to youtube.com/vbarbecue, BARBCUE, and check it out. We got all the videos streamed there. If you want to see what Manuel looks like and say hello to him at Explore, if you happen to get to Explore Europe, maybe you'll be there, Manuel. Maybe
yes,
you won't.
I will be at Explore in Europe. Last year I was in USA, but sadly that year my company didn't let me go through the United States.
Yeah, I can see that. Okay, so with that, Manuel, we always do a V barbecue report at the end. We'll ask Tony Foster to join us because he's nice enough to come in the stream, and he's always doing barbecue. But first, for you, Manuel, do you get to do barbecue in Germany? Do they let you? Is it sausage? What do you throw on the Barbie?
Spare ribs are my favorite. Absolutely, yeah. So
do you have a place that you get good spare ribs? Because I found that the quality of the ribs makes a big difference. How much fat it has, how lean it is. Do you do a dry rub or anything on the spare ribs? What's your go-to model?
To be honest, my wife do most of that stuff. Yeah. So
right.
Of course we buy it at the local dealer here within our town. Yeah,
nice.
It's a local
butcher
dealer, and then my wife is very, very excited in doing that stuff. I'm not so much in cooking. I'm more in
do you put a
stuff. And my second hobby you can see there, yeah, it's mountain biking. I'm not really in cooking and barbecue, but I'm very good at eating.
Eating it, right? I was gonna say, do you put a grill on top with a grease catcher on top of your servers, and then you could just cook on top of them, right? Like I said,
it's not warm enough.
There you go.
The temperature gauge tells me it's around 40 degrees today in my first data center, and I think that's not enough.
Not hot enough
for doing some barbecue on it.
All right, there you go. So your answer is ribs, and your wife makes them. There you go. Tony Foster, any barbecue report from you?
Absolutely. So it's sweet corn season here in Kansas. So
nice.
Guess what I've been grilling?
Oh yeah. Do you got corn coming in already? Is it that time of year?
Yeah, it is that time of year. The sweet corn is coming in. It is absolutely wonderful.
I put in 7 rows of corn this year in my backyard, right? Small garden, but 7 rows with 14 plants per row. So, and each plant makes 1 or 2 corn stalks. So 7 times 14 times 2, you can get like 100 ears of corn. Last year, the year before I did it, got great corn. This year I did it, and we've had such bad weather, such cold, rainy weather that the corn stalks are only like a foot tall, right?
Aww.
Where last year they would have been like 2-3 feet tall by now, right? So we just not. It looks like a sad cornfield right now. Like
it sounds like a sad cornfield.
It's a sad cornfield. Like I feel like I'm in that movie, not Gravity. What is it? The one that with Matthew McConaughey, where all the corn was dying on the planet, right? And you had to
Children of the Corn.
No,
that's not it.
There was Matthew McConaughey.
Signs.
not gravity, no. But anyway, the corn was dying, and such, and that's what my cornfield looks like. So you're making corn. That sounds great. You do it in the husk on the grill. Do you leave some husk around?
I am a huge fan of leaving it in the husk, but I also do take it off and actually cook as is, a bare cob, if you will. And then I have a third way I like to cook my corn as well. I'll actually wrap it up in tin foil and load it up with butter and Parmesan cheese and throw that on the grill. And then, like the last 5 minutes of grilling, I'll take it out of the foil and finish it off. And you get this awesome crust and the butter flavors and Parmesan all coming out really nice and crispy on it.
All right, I got that Milvey. It's Interstellar. With
Yes.
And the cornfields were all dying, and the planet was going, and that's what my cornfield looks like. It looks like from Interstellar. But fun barbecues, fun report. Manuel, do you have a Twitter handle, or how do people find you?
Yes, it's MB82 Cloud.
MBH2 Cloud. There you go. Find him on Twitter. Give him a follow. We're at the top of the hour. So, Manuel, thanks for being here. Thanks for sharing your home lab. Thanks for blogging about it. It's fun to go look at it. Yeah, go check that blog out, mb-labs.de. And he's got Homelab 2-0. You can go look at all the different versions that we've been talking about. Excellent. And you haven't built a lab, you should go get some old servers and go buy your VMUG Advantage, support them, and then come on, do an article, come on the podcast and talk about it. Tony Foster, thanks a lot for showing up as always every week, and thanks for doing some barbecue. Looking forward to getting out this weekend. It's beautiful summer solstice. Longest day of the year is the 22nd of June, which is tomorrow. So one more
It's actually today.
Is it today, the 21st?
It is today. It's the 21st. It was at 9:30 this morning, Central Time.
The longest day of the year. So enjoy this time. Even though it's been chilly in California, it has been light evenings. We've had some beautiful sunsets. All right, guys, thanks a lot for being on the community podcast. Every Wednesday, 12 to 1, we publish rain or shine. Until we hear from you again, thanks a lot. And go get some barbecue for lunch.
Thank you. Bye-bye.